Are you having trouble staying focused, sticking to your goals, setting goals, feeling accomplished? Join us today as AEO discovers goal setting.
What's brewing at the AEO?
Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Halley Choi, and I'm a Moorhead Academic Coach at the Office for Accessibility and Educational Opportunity, the AEO at Vassar College. I want to welcome you to our second webinar. Today's webinar will be on goal setting. We'll be discussing SMART goals, MTL goals, and how to make your goals manageable. In our previous webinar, Ethan spoke about motivation and how we are all motivated by different things, both internal and external. We hope with today's webinar that you are able to design some goals for your summer, to have a productive summer, whether that's you engaging in an online course, having a remote internship, or wanting to learn a new skill. We hope that this webinar can be helpful for you today. All right, so let's get started. I would like you to grab a piece of paper or pull up a Word document on your computer and jot down an area you would like to work on this summer, a goal that you would like to start for this summer. Executive functioning in 2 minutes. In our next webinar, Matthew will be discussing executive functioning at length. But for today's webinar, executive functioning is important to take into consideration as we discuss goal setting and motivation. Executive functioning is defined as cognitive tasks that we use throughout our day to organize our lives and regulate our actions. Since the 19th century, we've been known that executive functioning is located primarily in the frontal lobe part of our brain, specifically the prefrontal cortex. Our executive functioning is well developed into our 20s and 30s. But for neurotypical people, people with neurodiverse brains, such as people with learning disabilities, attention disabilities, mental health concerns, or chronic health illnesses, they may struggle with executive functioning throughout their lifespan. So that's important to also take into consideration. Some of the executive functions that we use daily include organization, prioritization, initiation, focus, emotional regulation, and working memory. So altogether, executive function is always in the context of our goals, and we use them to achieve what we think is most important to us in our life. SMART goals is one tool that you can use for setting goals. Sometimes when we set goals, we run into problems such as the goal may be too broad or it might not have enough urgency to it. SMART goals is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Now, when we're looking at SMART goals, let's take into consideration an example, such as wanting to learn a new skill by the end of the summer. Perhaps you want to learn how to speak Spanish. So we may start off with the part of the SMART goal, specific. What do we want to do? Practice Spanish terms. We are breaking down a larger goal into something smaller. M, measurable. How can I quantify this goal? Practice 5 terms. Finding a way to prove your progress. A, attainable. Do I have what I need to achieve this goal? You may ask yourself, do I have everything in front of me? Are we organized? For Spanish, you may want to use the Duolingo app to attain your goal. R is for relevant. Does this goal have meaning? What is my need? What is my purpose? Is this goal reasonable and realistic to me? We are working towards the goal of learning a new language. T, next, is for time bound. By when Will I accomplish this goal? Setting a deadline for yourself and holding yourself accountable can be really helpful with completing goals. The external and internal motivation. So, saying something like, I would like to practice these 5 terms by Friday. And so, in the end, when we put all of this SMART goal together, it may sound something like this. I will practice 5 Spanish terms using the Duolingo app by Friday to help me learn a new language. MTL Goals. So another type of tool that may be used for goal setting is MTL Goals. M is the minimum, T is target, and O is outrageous. The minimum is the least you could do and still feel accomplished. Target is what you realistically could do. And O is outrageous, what you could do if everything worked out in your favor. If you didn't have any distractions during the day, if you were totally focused on your goals for the day. I would encourage you to strive for your target goal. If you meet your outrageous goal, that's awesome. But if you meet your target goal, then hopefully you'll feel accomplished and you'll feel satisfied. So, if we're coming back to the example of wanting to learn a new language, such as Spanish, that we used with our SMART goal, our MTL goal might sound something like this. My minimum goal is to practice Spanish 3 times a week using the Duolingo app for this summer. My target goal is to practice Spanish every other day using the Duolingo app for the summer. And then while my outrageous goal is to practice Spanish every other day for 10 minutes using the Duolingo app for the summer. And so you can see that slowly over time, you are progressing. It can be really tough to set goals and stick to goals. So how do we make goals more manageable? We may want to look at the stages of change. So in the first stage of change, pre-contemplation, you may think about that you are thinking about setting a goal, making a change. Then stage 2, contemplation. You're weighing the pros and cons, preparation. You're doing some research. You're asking for assistance, asking your professor for help, or asking a sibling or a friend to hold you accountable with your goal. Number 4, action. You're starting to set SMART goals or MTO goals for yourself. Maintenance. You're setting these goals and you're completing your goals. You may make your goals a little bit more difficult or a little bit easier for yourself. And then something happens, relapse or reoccurrence. You don't meet your goals, you go into bad habits, your old habits, and things get tougher. And it's important to take into consideration that with this cycle, you can enter and leave at any part of the cycle. So, how do we facilitate change or set goals? And how do we make these goals more manageable? You can try a knockout to-do list. We spoke about knockout to-do lists in our previous webinar on motivation. A knockout to-do list is 3 to 5 items that you can write down on your to-do list to finish by the end of the day or by this afternoon or within the next hour to help you stay on track and not feel overwhelmed. You can reframe your goals using the MTO or SMART goals like we previously spoke about, or you can use an assignment breakdown planner. Below in our description, we have the link to the assignment breakdown planner, and it is a really helpful tool to use when you have a big assignment for class or if you have a big task to complete for a remote internship. It really breaks it down step by step. All right, let's recap. So overall, after 10 minutes just capturing goal setting, in this webinar, we spoke about SMART goals. They are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Now, the key with SMART goals is to make sure that they are realistic and reasonable for you and that they are achievable for you. Then, we spoke about MTO goals, minimum, target, and outrageous goals. The goal is to aim for that target goal. to help you feel satisfied and accomplished. Remember to take into consideration your own executive functioning when you are setting goals. Goals can be set daily, monthly, or weekly. All right, let's wrap up on goal setting for today. We hope that this webinar was helpful for you here at AEO. Please know you can reach out to us if you have any questions or concerns through email. And good luck and have a safe summer. We hope that you can use these goals, whether it's having a remote internship, an online course, and wanting to learn a new skill. We'll talk to you soon.